Yeah, done with my Oreo.
Okay, good. Do we really know what happened? The brother did.
The brother, that's what I thought too.
I mean, that seems like kind of obvious. Hey, do you want to talk about death?
Yeah. I mean,
Murdery thingy.
Right now, because we just started. Because I just hit fucking record. Welcome to Mystery Murdery Thingy.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up? So it's a podcast. So if you didn't know, that's what you're listening to a podcast. I hope you realize
this is.
Don't
what? Yell at them.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. Other people listening to us. We decided we're not going to tell you to do things because we don't like when other people do that. We were looking on Spotify and there was like.
There was a singer that was like, listen to my new song. And it was like this weird little blurb, I guess, that was attached to it.
I don't know
Mario,
what that was.
Mario purposely was like, no, I'm not going to now.
It just like rubbed me the wrong way.
And I was like, what if people do that to us?
So we decided not to tell people what to do. So, listen, don't, whatever. We don't fucking care. But please listen. Thank you for listening. Though.
Anyway. What is this? What are we doing? Who are you?
I'm Mario.
I'm Chloe.
Good job. We talk about mysteries.
And murderies.
And thingies. Yeah, we're going to get into some thingies because it's been very murdery lately and we're tired of it. So we're moving on to something else. That's part of why we chose mystery murdery thingy. Because
we wanted to keep it vague.
Yeah.
But sometimes when people are like, oh, what's your podcast called? And I'm like...
You're so fucking ashamed.
Mystery murdery thingy.
We spent a long time
like
they're
going to be like,
title.
oh.
Oh, so it's stupid.
No.
I mean, I think it's a delightfully idiotic title.
I think it's just right.
Yeah, right. It's just right.
And if you don't think so, then you can get the fuck out.
You can fuck up because this is our fucking podcast. We can make the decisions. Which is the other great thing about doing podcasts. And they were talking about that on the Twit podcast too, actually. No one's regulating you. The FCC ain't got shit on us, because we're on the internet and it's the wild fucking west. So we can say whatever we want.
That's a great description of the internet.
Yeah, we don't really care, Well, Germany's like, hey, we'll do something, The EU's like, hey, we want to be the police.
Okay, that's way too political for me. I don't
GDPR.
Understand.
Just look up GDPR, but later, because right now that's not what we're talking about. I am going to go first.
Yes.
We decided earlier, and I am going to do Abominable Snowmen.
What?
Frosty the Abominable Snowman had some very hairy feet.
No, that's not the tune
and
at all.
And if you ever saw him, he would make you hurt and you'd fall down.
No.
That's what I heard about Abominable Snowmen. They're kind of mystical.
That's
they have
Rudolph
powers.
The Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose.
I was singing Rudolph the...
You want Frosty the Abominable Snowman.
Right, that's it. Does not work as well syllabically, though. So I'm going to go with my choice, which was... incorrect, but also correct
do this,
in a way.
We have to make it as accurate as possible.
We're all about being as accurate as possible within the bounds of the mystery, right?
Yes.
In my mind, the mystery was, what does Frosty the Snowman sound like? That was the mystery in my mind for a moment. And I did not come up with the right answer. But hey, that's okay. We're going to give ourselves permission to fail. You have to fail to succeed, and therefore I just took a step towards success.
Are you a theater professor? Because that's what you sound like.
Some people say that I should have been, so,
you sound like all of my theater professors.
I would like to tell you a thing now, and this is what it is.
Just to piggyback off of what she said, because I want everybody to hear that it's my turn to speak now, and I just kind of want to talk about the same exact thing.
I want to push back a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of what she said.
I just want to ask, to what extent? You know what I mean? Wow, that was an interesting tangent. What is that going to sound like on the radio? Okay, so to get back to what I'm actually doing for my thing.
All theater classes ever.
We are theater people, if you did not already realize by how many fucking musical songs we belt out with every fucking episode.
NYC. We were singing that the other day.
Right. I thought you were going to do, and
Neither of us can really sing, though. I think you're a much better singer than I am, but I can't.
I like to just embrace my voice, you know? It's not always going to sound like a fucking Frank Sinatra or something, but, you know, it's like...
I was like that bitch in choir who, like, wasn't that great, and, like, nobody told her she wasn't that great, so she did choir, like, all through high school, but nobody told her she should have stopped in, like, middle school. Like, nobody
you should
said
keep
anything.
doing it. Just have a proper understanding of the nature of your voice, you know?
I had no idea.
It's dependent on many different factors.
Wow, who's flat in the altos? And I look around and I'm like, it's fucking not me.
Not me.
Not me.
Right? Couldn't possibly be me. Yeah, someone in the tenors, you're kind of doing the shouty tenor thing. Could you just a little bit tone it down? A little bit. Okay. Anyway.
This bed is so loud.
I know, right? We'll have a new bed soon. Pretty soon. Okay, so...
Wow, we're not on it today.
We have gone far afield of where we should be. Okay, I'm going to get things back on track. Okay. Back on track.
I don't know what that was.
Not sure. That was not back on track. That was more like off the rails. So, Abominable Snowmen.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes. Okay, let's get into it. So, you know, this whole idea, right? The unknown, mystical, large, you know, sort of looming, hairy, human-like creature, you know, living in near anonymity. It's like really, it's more widespread than I thought before. It's
really?
Like basically almost all over the world.
Yeah.
I couldn't really find an abominable snowman of Africa.
Okay.
Now, Africa is generally a very hot place, so maybe that kind of makes sense, but I'll talk about one later that kind of refutes that because it's in like the American Southwest. So, but I don't know, but pretty much everywhere else. Like lots in Asia, obviously, like Himalayas, the Yeti, like that's the main thing I'm going to talk about, obviously. But then Bigfoot in America, and there's one for in Australia. There's ones in China, in Mongolia.
Oh, it's so weird.
You know, just kind of like all over the place. Wherever there are large forests or, you know, wintry wilds, one might say.
What's the difference between, like, the Abominable Snowman and, like, Bigfoot?
Sure. It's sort of like the rectangle and the square, right? Like, a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square because a rectangle is a more general it's a more general description. You know what I mean? I'm making a mathematical illusion here. I realize after I said that, not the best decision. Math. It's boring and it kind of sucks. But, you know, that was the illusion that I came up with. But Abominable Snowman is a general description for all of these kind of people, apes, bears, snowmen, wild men, whatever you want to call them. And they have many names all over the world. Sometimes depending on what region of an area you live in, it'll have a different name.
So what are the, like, general... You know what? No, keep going.
The general characteristics?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got them up. It's on my write-up. Those are the words I wrote.
I didn't want to, like, skip ahead. I didn't know where you were in the process.
No, it's totally fine because, you know, obviously we plan these things out very carefully and we have a set, you know, schedule of things we're going to do.
Sure.
And that's how our podcast works.
Correct.
This is a lo-fi podcast. We haven't said that in, like, a lot of episodes, but, you know, that is part of the idea that we talked about
chilling.
We talked about how produced our podcast should be. We decided it should be on the less produced side of things. So that's how we do things. Okay, general characteristics of the Abominable Snowmen. They are large.
Oh, wow.
They are always very hairy.
All right.
They are bipedal.
All right.
Not talking about penises. Talking about the feet now.
Excuse me. Whoa. Back
Didn't say bipenal.
Fuck up.
Just want to clarify.
No one was really thinking about that at all.
That was the joke. No one was going to make that association.
And
Mario made it weird.
Terrible.
And terrible.
Solid 3 out of 10.
You know, my approach
being honest
to joke making is very similar to a baseball player's hit average. If I'm hitting at 300, then I'm doing pretty well. So 70%, I'm not even worrying about. That's one of the 70%. It's fine. We'll move on. They're generally described as being ape-like. Okay. Like, very particularly, like, you know, these, like, old guys, like, you know, my dad, my grandpa, he told me, like, it wasn't a bear. Like, it seemed like a gorilla. Like, I'm telling you, like, it wasn't a bear, okay? We'll talk a lot about bears in this episode. So they're always sort of described as being, like, very wily, very elusive, right? Like, you can never quite catch them. There's this one photograph from, like, 2007. That's, like, the one photograph. The one that people point to from, like, all the hundreds of years people have been talking about these. But there are footprints, obviously, and things like that. But seeing one, it's always very mystical, elusive. And sometimes, though, they are kind of aggressive and dangerous, actually. And in some places, they are almost like demons in a way. Or like boogeymen. So it's kind of interesting. They take on different aspects depending on which like culture you're kind of talking about, right? But like I said, they have a lot of different names and a you know, sort of a panoply of characteristics throughout history around the world. But just a few of the names: Yeti, Bigfoot, Skunk Ape, Yowie, Barmanu. Amongst many others. Sasquatch, of course. Many others. So first, we're going to look at some of the similarities between, you know, all these abominable snowmen, the general characteristics that I was just starting with. And then we're going to just look at, like, a few of my favorite ones that I kind of picked out from what when I was researching this. So in addition to being, like, wily, hairy, big, whatever, they're very mystical. They have kind of supernatural powers, mainly to, like, appear and disappear very quickly. And that's part of their, like, elusiveness, right? But in some cultures, like in the Himalayan culture, it's said that even the if you just hear it, like the sound of its, like, howl or whatever, that can harm you. And that if it can, like, look at you and make you, like, drop to the ground.
What?
Yeah. So you like, want to avoid them at all costs.
That's weird. That's freaky. I don't like that.
And it was so funny. So there was, like, a National Geographic article that was part of my research, and there was, like, a little video. And the guy was talking with this family about it, right? So it was, like, a youngish guy who obviously, like, he knew English fluently. You know, he was, like... The guy's, like, kind of conduit, and then it was, like, his dad, and then there was, like, two little boys, and they were all talking about, you know, the Yeti, and the dad, the kind of older guy, you know, he's talking about all these things, right? Like, don't let it look at you, you can't hear it, and you can just see the little kid's face, like, oh my, what? The Yeti? Oh, fuck. I don't want to see the Yeti. You know? He was, like, really freaked out. I thought it was kind of funny.
No.
But it's, you know, I can understand, like, you're, like, 7 years old, you know, right? And kids in America still, a lot of them still believe in Santa, right? And they're talking about this thing called the Yeti as if it's, like, a real thing. Like, why wouldn't you think it was a real thing? They do. They all do. You know, your dad does. Your brother does. Your grandpa. It's like this whole thing. So that was just a really funny little video. And, you know, in some cultures, children are actually, like, told not to invoke the name even.
Like?
Of the local abominable snowman.
Ooh.
Lest it come and get them.
He who shall not be named.
For being a bad little boy. Yes, this is a very persistent also idea throughout cultures in general of, like, a name having power. You know, again, this is where it kind of like intersects with demonology as well, you know, because it's said that if you knew the true name of a demon, that you gain power over it, right? If you invoke the name, but invoking the name can also, you know, bring about the evil power, right? So, you know, it's kind of interesting that way. Okay, so let's get into some of the particular examples, beginning, of course, with one of, you know, the most famous, the Yeti. So the Yeti stems from Nepalese folklore. So Nepal, Central Asia, right, north of India, we're talking about here. And the name in the Nepalese language and the Tibetan language means rocky place bear. Okay, so that's kind of like one of the best translations of the word Yeti. It's kind of like a portmanteau of rocky place bear. And it's described as an ape-like creature, taller than an average human. So, you know, like 7-8 feet tall, so big, pretty big. And it's said to occupy several mountain ranges around Central Asia. So it's not just, you know,
so
in Nepal.
So this one's in the mountains.
It's in the mountains, right? It's in, you know, Tajikistan, and it's in Pakistan, and it's in China and India and Nepal, and, you know, just like, this is one that's said to have like a very wide range. But yes, it's like in the mountains. And it may actually develop from a pre-Buddhist belief of the Lepcha people, who are like one of the native peoples of this area of Nepal. And they had this glacier being that they would worship as a god of the hunt, right? So when they're going out into the snows, onto the slopes to hunt, they invoke and I assume pray to and whatever, have rituals for this glacier being. And some people think that tradition basically morphed into a belief in the Yeti, and that it sort of has taken that place in a way. So it is said to be a supernatural creature that can both harm and provide good luck for the hunt. So it's sort of a capricious god, one might say.
Okay.
A mercurial snowman.
Big words.
Snowman's a big word, true. And there are, you know, a lot of sightings of the creature that have been recorded throughout the years, mainly since Western explorers have begun to incur into, you know, this area. And the first of those, or at least a very early one, was this explorer named James Prinsep. In 1832, he is said to have seen a creature which he thought looked kind of like an orangutan. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So ape-like, again. Not a bear. At least according to what he's saying.
But also not, I don't know, I feel like the stereotypical Yeti is nothing like an orangutan.
That's true. It's yeah, because orangutans aren't bipedal, first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Swing around on trees and vines and shit.
Well, that's the other thing which we'll get into in a later section, is like the scientific part of this that kind of doesn't make sense in terms of ape-like. But anyway, we're embracing the mystery. And as more Westerners made incursions into the Himalayas throughout, you know, the early to mid 20th century, many said that they saw some version of this mysterious creature. And many more of them said that they saw unexplained tracks that looked kind of human-like, but very, very large. As if, you know, Shaq were just walking around in the snow.
Wild Shaq!
It's the Wild Shaq, oh my god!
The wild Shaquille O'Neal!
We never knew. Bigfoot's actually Shaquille O'Neal!
Oh my god.
I love Shaq so much. Hey, you guys, I just want to say, you know, about that. It was brave. That's how he talks when he's doing commentary. It's just like so low in both volume and tone. You cannot understand what he's saying like 80% of the time.
Oh my god.
You know, right, Kenny. So you'd get it if you watched the NBA on TNT.
Sports.
Okay. So many tangents this episode. It's great. Anyway, so now we're into the early mid 20th century. The 1950s is really when a lot of these like abominable snowmen myths kind of like ripened in a sense. Like they sort of like really seeded into the like Western culture. It seems like, and what helped to kind of cement that was that photos of these Yeti tracks were actually sent back, you know, in magazines and such. Particularly this explorer Eric Shipton's photographs, which are still debated over to this day. But he took pictures of some very weird tracks, which some skeptical types said that were just normal tracks that had been altered by the snow and melt and things of that nature. But hey, you know, could go either way, I guess. Opinion was generally divided, let's say, amongst the public and fellow explorers of Shipton's as well as to the Yeti's, you know, real existence. Right, as it remains now. It's a matter of contention. And early missions, including one organized by the American Tom Slick, great name.
Yeah.
Right. Was, you know, formed to find the fabled Yeti. And Tom Slick's expedition had more than 500 porters and lasted for over 6 months.
Okay.
Didn't find the Yeti. You know, didn't quite get there.
Well, I feel like if you're looking for it, you're never going to find it.
Right,
I feel like
maybe.
it's kind of that kind of vibe. I don't know.
Because it's probably standing, like, just over there, being like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You're never going to find me. I'm the fucking Yeti.
Yep,
I can disappear at will.
That's how that works.
I can freeze you with my stare.
Verbatim. That's how they talk to each other. Right.
Yetis always speak in English, because that's just how it works. And this is probably the weirdest thing that I found out during my research for this episode. The great actor, Jimmy Stewart, comes into play in the story. Unexpectedly, he rears his head. Okay, this is from a quote from Wikipedia. Quote, in 1959, actor James Stewart, while visiting India, reportedly smuggled the so-called Pangboche hand by concealing it in his luggage when he flew from India to London. Close quote.
The what?
So let me explain that a little bit. So the Pangboche hand. So this is one of several artifacts that are said to be the remains of a Yeti.
Ooh.
Many of which exist. They are mainly in shrines in Nepal, in India,
so they're like really
different
expensive
places.
and valuable and shit.
They are.
Why does he have
necessarily what they seem. It appears that Jimmy Stewart was, you know, he was being sort of a sleuth, right? He wanted to have it looked at, so he brought it from India to London sort of surreptitiously. But I'm not sure whatever came of it, you know. It didn't say on Wikipedia. So that's how that goes. But what it did say was that Sir Edmund Hillary, the famous explorer Sir Edmund Hillary, brought back some other supposed Yeti remains in 1960, and those were tested. Now, they were found to be close, but not exactly alike, to a type of Himalayan goat, antelope kind of creature called a serow. Okay. So eventually it was actually found that it wasn't actually a serow. It was actually this other thing, which is called a growl, right? Obviously. I mean, right? I learned about so many new Himalayan animals during this research, which I didn't expect, but it was pretty cool. The growl is in the bovid family, and that's the family in which also are bison, sheep, cows, things of that, you know, kind of nature. Okay. Anyway, just a little, I think it's interesting because, you know, it's science. Anyway, so let's fast forward, okay? 2007, 47 years later, and yet more mysterious footprints were being examined. This time by reality TV presenter, because, you know, there had to be a reality TV. Joshua Gates.
I don't know who that is.
Nor did I. Nor do I still, really. But what I do know is that he had this show called Destination Truth. It was in England, so I guess we wouldn't have known about it anyway. Yeah, he kind of looked into this thing during the run of Destination Truth, which I think ended in, like, 2014 or something. It was on for, like, 7 years or something. He brought back some footprints to be examined. He took casts. And this researcher, Jeffrey Meldrum, initially thought that they were authentic. So it was like this big, kind of story, right?
Okay.
He later, though, changed his mind after kind of doing a more thorough examination and said that basically, like, the whole thing where it's just normal footprints and they got melted by the snow to make them look weird. He said, that's probably what it was. Yeah.
That's
or this other thing where it might be a juvenile black bear because they have, like, their digit. They don't have, like, opposable thumbs, but they have their last digit gets, like, turned over to be kind of like an opposable thumb so that they can climb in trees because apparently they're trying to get away from the older black bears who might kill them because that's kind of a thing, right, amongst, like, lions and bears and a lot of different creatures in nature. The male of the species will tend to kill the offspring of a different male in order, to... It's a thing.
Oh.
It is kind of sad, but, it's a thing.
Oh, no.
It says it didn't mean to bring down the mood. Sorry, guys. I apologize. So, it seems pretty clear that there's, like, something, right? Weird, something living in these woods, in these mountains. Now, it may just be a bear. Now, I know I've been hinting at this the entire time.
Why is all this fuss about a bear?
Well, I'll explain why, but it's
So you think it's a bear?
We'll talk about the science and what I think it really is, but the what's nice, whether it's a bear or whatever it is, the nice thing that has come out of this is that the interest in the area because of the Yeti has helped to establish some large nature preserves in Nepal, in different areas around there since the mid-'80s. So, this whole, I guess controversy has brought some good out of it, at least. Moving on, let's talk about Bigfoot. So this is the other big one, obviously, that we're going to talk about, right? And this is North America's very own Abominable Snowman, Bigfoot, a.k.a. Sasquatch, like you said. And Bigfoot Sasquatch is, of course, a hairy, upright walking, ape-like creature, very large, ranges over the U.S. and Canada, but mostly in the Pacific Northwest, and is sort of an amalgam myth of ancient European as well as Native American origin, mixed with some, logger, trapper legends, of
okay,
those kind
so
of
there's
like
a lot.
American
All right,
days.
that makes sense.
It's very much an amalgam.
That makes sense.
Yes.
It's a pretty broad kind of idea.
It's a very broad description, as Abominable Snowmen are in general. It's always a very, like, broad description. And while, most people think, yes, that Bigfoot is a myth, a hoax, a misunderstanding of a different creature, maybe a bear, there are some anthropologists that do seriously entertain the idea of a Bigfoot. And there are, like we were just saying, a panoply of these Bigfoot Sasquatch myths. Some of them are kind of somewhat equivalent to the myths of giants, which were present in several, at least, Native American cultures, where they had these giant myths.
I wonder if that would be a good topic.
Giants? Yeah, that would be. I mean, there's definitely, like, a lot of evidence for it in the historical records, so to speak, in mythology and legends and the Bible. But
are they real?
Well, that's the question, and what would that even mean, right? What would a giant be to that, or what does this word actually mean?
Yes.
That was actually in Aramaic, and then in Greek, and then, in English, or whatever, We could get into all that annoying stuff if you want, because, I'm going to be super particular and skeptical, like I always am.
Like I always am.
Embrace the mystery. So this, giant Sasquatch sort of set of myths is very persistent amongst, some Native American tribes, even through at least the 19th century. So even well after the intersection with the the wider Western world, right, of Europe, etc., these myths were, like, very persistent. And obviously they still are to today. Talking about a reality TV presenter, right? But the name Sasquatch actually comes from a Native American word, and it was kind of interesting. The Bigfoot, where that derives from, it's actually a few different places. So Bigfoot was the nickname of a large-footed chief named Bigfoot.
Oh.
2 different words.
Oh, okay.
Bigfoot.
So what is this?
This is where the name comes from.
Okay.
So that's one of the sources. And then there was also a different Native American chief from the Wyandot tribe who he was reportedly, like, super huge, and his nickname was Bigfoot. And he would reportedly roam throughout the country with his 5 enormous brothers.
Oh.
And everyone was super terrified of them, apparently.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool, little story within this. And then there were actually a couple of famous grizzly bears in the 19th century that were also named Bigfoot, as well as a different Native American leader from the Lakota tribe named Chief Bigfoot. Right.
Right.
Space there.
Just a little, yeah.
One of the Bigfoot bears was killed in Fresno, California in 1895.
Oh, so they got one?
Yeah. These were real grizzly bears. These were, like, actual grizzly bears that killed a bunch of animals,
so they just
mostly.
They got
super famous. They killed this bear in 1895, and after it had been eating the prized sheep in the area for 15 years.
What?
Yeah.
How do they know they got the right one?
I mean, I'm assuming they had seen it and it had character. I don't fucking know, but that's what it said on Wikipedia. I believe it. So as for the other Bigfoot bear, quote from Wikipedia, no one has been found brave enough or clever enough to catch or kill him. He was never killed. He got away. It's good for him. So, like the Yeti, the myth of the Bigfoot, like I said before, kind of developed in the mid-1950s, right? And the Sasquatch gained really big popularity, kind of peaked in popularity in the 1970s. But these obviously have persisted strongly till today, well into the 21st century. And that 2007 purported photo of a young Bigfoot is some of the best, kind of only evidence for something.
How? I just feel like it's so easy to capture things today and get things on camera, and
this goes to the plausibility of the whole idea of it.
And there's just one photo from 11, 12 years ago that is the most reliable evidence.
Right. That's not very good, and some people say it might be a bear, so sorry, it always keeps coming back to that. We're going to talk about a few more, though. So the skunk ape, these are just brief, is the abominable snowman of the southwestern United States. So, Florida, North Carolina, Arkansas. Skunk ape. The skunk ape has many different names. It is also known as swamp cabbage man. Swamp man.
Was that named by a 6-year-old or
right?
What?
Swamp cabbage man. That's my favorite. Swamp ape, stink ape, Florida Bigfoot, Louisiana Bigfoot, Miyaka ape, swamp squatch, and Miyaka skunk ape. Yeah. And it is said to be very stinky.
Ew.
Massively odoriferous, this thing. Creating a miasma of bad-smelling odors around it.
Shush.
You know what I mean? He's a stinky man. Like other abominable men, there were many hoaxes connected with the skunk ape, as there were with the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
In fact, there was even, this is kind of tragic, a man who was killed wearing a Bigfoot suit on the side of the road in August 2012 in Montana. Yeah, so...
Was he hit by a car? Was he
was hit by a car.
shot?
No, he was hit by a car.
Oh my...
Yeah, so that was kind of tragic. Okay, so there's also one from Australia. Australia. We have a lot of Australian listeners. They're going to be like, it's not what it sounds like. It's Yowie.
The Yowie.
The Yowie. Here we see the Yowie. Except we don't, because it's pretty, it's a mythical creature. And it's rooted in the folk culture of the Australian Aboriginals in their oral history. And it's said to roam mostly in eastern Australia. It's said to be about 7 feet tall, ape-like, and upright. And it's alternatively very shy and very aggressive. And there have been recorded sightings since about 1795. So that's kind of when things started for Mr. and Mrs. Yowie. The Yowie. And they also say that the Yowie may actually be this other mythical creature called a bunyip, which is pretty cool. It's a mythical swamp creature that kind of looks like a big fucking rat.
Ew.
Like a huge rat that could, like, eat you.
Ew.
Kind of like the swamp rats from The Princess Bride. I just thought of that. That's probably where it comes from. There are, though, a lot of different descriptions of the bunyip. So it varies quite widely. But in some of them, it looks like a big fucking rat. The last one I'm going to talk about is the Barmanu, which is a Pakistani cryptid. Cryptid, of course, being the general word for mythical, creatures. And the Barmanu is said to roam the mountains of western Pakistan, which are very dangerous, but maybe not so much for the Barmanu. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's not a very secure area. The Barmanu, though, probably could hold its own because it is said to be one of the most sinister of the Abominable Snowmen. One of its favorite activities, according to legend, is that it abducts women.
Of course it does.
The Barmanu is not a good guy. Also, apparently wears animal skins on its back and its head.
Ew.
Although the Abominable Snowmen are, as a rule, naked, although covered in hair. And the Spanish zoologist Jordi Magraner actually searched for the Barmanu from the late 80s till his death in 2002 in Afghanistan by being murdered by terrorists. Like we said, not a secure area.
God.
If you're going to go looking for the Barmanu, I'm sorry, you might find some Taliban. I'm not trying to make light of it. It's very tragic. I'm sorry. I was kind of trying to make light of it. I'm sorry. Jordy McGraner's family. That's terrible that he died that way. But, it speaks, though, to this, like, persistence also within scientific communities of, like, people wanting to find these things. There's certain scientists, right, who they just want them to be there, and they want to find them, and they want to be the ones who've discovered them or proved their existence, because, like, clearly there's something leading to these myths, right?
Yeah, but you still sound skeptical.
Because it's essentially been proven what it is, essentially, but only kinda. So, in that sense, the myth, it's kind of confirmed and kind of not. So, the idea of a rare mystical sort of creature that people encounter in the deep woods, yes, but from DNA analyses, which there was actually a comprehensive DNA review undertaken just 2 years ago in 2017 by Daniel D. Taylor, showed essentially that the Yeti is a type of ancient subspecies of brown bear that is extremely rare. People weren't even sure if it was extinct or not. That split off from all other brown bears about 650,000 years ago. So that's the best idea of what the Yeti actually is. You don't look excited.
No.
Sorry. To burst your fucking bubble. But yeah, again, that's, one explanation of one type of abominable snowman. It's not dispositive, And some other people have proposed that the Bigfoot, the Yeti, etc., are actually this creature called Gigantopithecus, which is a thought to be extinct giant fucking ape.
Okay.
Gigantopithecus was about twice the size of a gorilla.
What?
Essentially a gorilla, but twice the size. Yeah. So not quite King Kong, but real fucking huge. And while its fossilized remains are only found in Asia, Eastern Asia, some say that, it could have crossed the Bering Land Bridge when it existed, and therefore, be found here in the United States. Also, only its mandible, like the jaw area, and the teeth have ever been found, and I think a skull.
I wonder why.
It's just hard to find fossilized remains. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what it would look like. But from those bones, like the proportionality of them, we can tell that it was about 10 feet tall.
Damn.
So, yeah. And it also, though, probably would have been quadrupedal, not bipedal.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And they actually did, analyses, stress analyses and stuff of, what would make the most sense. And it just, for that big of a creature, bipedality just doesn't really make any physics sense. There's this one scientist guy on one of the videos I watched that said it did, but I don't think so. Right? That doesn't... I don't know. No. Because there would be so much pressure being put, on the hips and all the joints, But
what if it had, super bones or something, and it was able to...
I didn't think of super bones.
Withstand that.
Yeah, I don't know. So, probably not. But, we'll embrace the mystery. So, thank you for gently slapping me. So, other people think that it might be other, thought to be extinct, hominids, etc., like Paranthropus robustus, or perhaps Meganthropus, maybe even a Neanderthal.
Meg?
Shut up, Meg. What was it? Thunder thighs are walking. Thunder thighs are loose.
Yeah.
So these are Family Guy references. And perhaps the Bigfoot could even be Homo heidelbergensis.
What?
Which is one of my favorite scientific names. Achoo. Heidelbergensis. No evidence, though, and remains of these creatures have ever been found outside of Africa. So that also makes it a little bit difficult. It also kind of speaks to this whole idea of the abominable snowman being some kind of giant ape that lives outside of the equatorial regions, which doesn't exist in modern times or ever as far as we can tell. So that kind of doesn't make sense. The whole idea of a snow ape is kind of just doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Ooh, sorry. But, don't tell that, though, to Dr. Melba S. Ketchum. Because Dr. Melba S. Ketchum thinks this is a real fucking creature. And she will not be dissuaded. She has proposed a new scientific species of hominin, Homo sapiens cognatus. And that, she says, is the Sasquatch. But scientifically. Now...
I don't see why not.
Just the fact that it's been given a name doesn't make it real. That's what a different scientist was kind of pointing out. But there is this organization called the Sasquatch Genome Project that is attempting to create a genetic profile for the so-called Sasquatch. So, we'll see. There are people, although not too many of them, but including Dr. Melba S. Ketchum, who are working on this in a scientific way and who would say, don't be so skeptical. There's something there. And, the pursuit continues, obviously. Another organization, the BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization.
Oh, wow.
Another group of people who would say I'm full of shit for seemingly not believing in this. Sorry. So, we're left with some weird tracks, one photo, a lot of circumstantial evidence, but we'll very much have to embrace the mystery on this one. And whether Boogerfoot, was I going to say Boogerfoot? Boogfoot?
Back up.
Whether Bigfoot, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For you to say, is out there or not, we should take a little bit of a look at the real world impact that. What is that? Did they find the Abominable Snowman? Is that?
Oh my God!
Is that the siren for they found the Abominable Snowman time? Oh no, I'm being told that's a fire siren. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, they would send the. There it is, and they call 911, and they immediately drop everything.
Tell the world.
Yeah.
How can we get this out to the people most quickly? With a siren, obviously. So yes, let's take a look at just a little bit of the cultural impact, the wider context of the Abominable Snowmen myths.
Like on TV?
Exactly, but not only TV, also books, movies, comic books, video games, cartoons, and even stamps. Humorous.
What do you want
Yeti
me to say
stamps.
to that?
That's right.
Tourism?
Yes, but exactly.
It's a business.
That is exactly the reason. And hey, good for them.
That's what I'm saying.
And of course, we'll all remember the immortal Harry and the Hendersons.
What?
It's a movie from the 80s. It's kind of obscure, but I like it. Go watch Harry and the Hendersons. You'll get a better understanding of the Bigfoot myth. So the idea of, a long-lost human relative, furry, large, unsophisticated, and elusive is very persistent in our cultures throughout time, around the world. I don't mean to diminish this idea.
Scooby-Doo.
Also in Scooby-Doo as well, so it must be real. And to me, it's actually akin to the pervasiveness of things like religion, pyramids, farming, society. Wherever there are people, it seems, people believe in a wild man of the woods or a wild man of the snow. It's this whole thing, but why, right? But why? That's the question it begs to me. Why is this so persistent? Is it because we want to return to nature? Is it because we have a longing for a wildness that's slipping away? Is it because we have a fascination with creatures
oh my God.
that are kind of like us, but that are also living wild like we would want to live, really? Is that it? We'll never know. But I'm just going to end here with a quote from this guy named Daniel Taylor, who is one of these people, looking into this. He's kind of an explorer. And I just thought this summed it up well. So, quote, "The deep mystery at our core is that we want to be connected to the great beyond. And we need symbols to help us understand the connection. That's why we believe in God. Or angels, or the Loch Ness Monster. Throughout human history and across human cultures, we have developed messengers from the great beyond. Ultimately, that's what the Yeti is. Close quote. And that's what the Yeti is. So that's my story for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. It is a mystery. I just want to make that clear because I'm not saying that it's entirely not true, and neither are my sources. And these are my sources: Wikipedia, of course, the Yeti page, the Bigfoot page, the Yowie page, etc., etc. Joe Smith in a nature blog called Cool Green Science. Simon Worrell interviewing Daniel Taylor, from whom the quote came, and in National Geographic, and also John Pickerel in National Geographic. Yep.
How am I supposed to follow that?
Just go. Well, you wanted me to go first.
I know.
No. I'm very interested to hear your story this week because it's fucking weird.
It's very weird. It
disturbing.
Freaks me out.
Oh my God.
It's all sort of the things that might have a natural cause, but then there's other things that totally dispute that.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about cattle mutilations, which is
cattle mutilations,
which is my favorite band, by the way.
Cattle Mutilations.
Cattle Mutilations.
That would be a good band name,
right?
Yeah, I mean, there probably is one.
If you know the band Cattle Mutilation,
or if you want to start the band Cattle Mutilation,
definitely reach out to us.
Right,
we want to know. We want to hear.
Please.
Okay. So, worldwide, sheep, horses, goats, cows, bison, deer, elk, they've all been reported mutilated with similar bloodless excisions, often an ear, eyeball, tongue, lymph nodes, genitals, and rectum are removed. This is some weird
before you get
shit.
Too far into it, I just have one question. And I don't know, this might just derail the whole thing. Is it Dexter?
Oh my God.
Could it be Dexter?
It's not Dexter.
Oh, it's not Dexter.
Dexter's not real.
Oh, Dexter's not real. Oh, so I'm sorry. Please go on. Then never mind. Don't give me that look.
Do you?
So you're saying it's not Dexter?
I've never even watched Dexter.
The first season's really good. It kind of goes downhill at a certain point, and a lot of shows do.
Anyway.
These could also both be good fodder for Supernatural episodes, right?
Cattle Mutilation happened.
Oh, I was trying to remember.
It's a sign of the apocalypse, remember?
Oh, yeah.
It's a sign of more demon activity.
They do it in the X-Files, too.
Boom. Supernatural. Bam. Right. We need to get back in on that.
Always there.
Anyway,
great.
Like I said, this is some weird shit. And
yes.
One of my sources was a Monster Quest episode.
You said you love that show, right?
I love Monster Quest.
Yeah.
Some of it's bullshit, and they try to expand it. Uh-huh. But some of it is actually quite interesting and has a lot of scientific explanation. What I like about Monster Quest is that they get real life, actual people and scientists, and they go into it, and it's not
there's this whole
conspiracy theory, caught this on tape type crap.
There's this whole trend, in the past many years of reality shows funding real scientists. And it's always an interesting thing,
Yeah.
Because it's they are real scientists, but the show's not really real. So it's walking this kind of line,
Yeah. The characteristics. So the wounds are always clean and they seem surgical.
Right.
Sometimes they're reported to have been drained of blood, but there's no blood surrounding the area. It's totally dry. So according to a survey taken by the National Institute for Discovery Science, mutilation of the eye occurred in 59% of the cases, mutilation of the tongue in 42%, the genitals in 85%, and the rectum in 76%. And 90% of the mutilated cattle are young. They're between 4 and 5 years old. It's a very weird culmination of coincidences, maybe. It's weird factors. It's all a lot of something that everybody from each side looks at differently. So the ranchers who have been doing this for decades and they've never seen anything like this are totally floored and know this isn't some natural phenomena. Whereas some scientists think that this is totally natural and some vets think this is totally natural.
Some scientists.
But there are others that actually are saying, hey, this is weird.
And ranchers and stuff are really freaked out by it, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Especially because it's something that happens worldwide, but mostly in the northwest U.S. A lot of the Great Plains, those kinds of areas. And along with the characteristics, there's strange marks or imprints found. Sometimes there's nothing. So it's like either or. Other predators, for reasons unknown, would stay away from the body. So even they have this mutilated carcass, scavengers and other like animals
That's weird.
Steer clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been something that's been happening who knows how long. But the minute it became famous was in 1967. So Southern Colorado, September of 1967. The 3-year-old...
Picture it. Southern Colorado, 1967. A mutilated cow. A beautiful young girl. Sorry.
Was not a cow.
I was doing a Sophia thing.
A what?
Sophia? Ma? Golden Girls? Picture it.
Oh. That really took me a second. I'm so sorry.
No one probably gets my references, but it's cool. I get them.
I get them.
Thanks.
I pretend to get them.
Thanks.
Wink, wink. So it was a horse. It was an Appaloosa horse. So this is the night before, returned home to be fed after a day of grazing in the pasture, seemingly healthy. The next night, same process. She failed to come back when called. So the family went out to search for her. The owners, Agnes King and her son Harry, found the horse lying dead in the field. Her head and neck had been totally skinned, and she had cuts all over her body. The local vet said that it was foul play, but they had no real proof or anything like that. It's just kind of what the guess was at the time. Mm-hmm. And this story went national, and soon farmers and vets from Utah, Nevada, Colorado, and New Mexico came forward with stories of things similar happening to them as well. So this is when it kind of went public in the U.S. in that everybody sort of knew about it now.
So it's like the late 60s.
Not just pockets of people.
Mm-hmm.
So all of them had reports of mutilation to their totally healthy cattle. So, of course, the first assumption was satanic groups, cults, terrible people using the parts for sacrifices or rituals or weird shit like that. Mm-hmm. There were very, very, very few.
It was probably hippies.
It was the hippies.
It was those damn hippies.
Very, very few actually turned out to be the case. That was almost not the answer at all.
So there were very few that were like actually able to be investigated and proven to be something concrete.
Exactly.
Most of them remained a mystery. Remain a mystery.
Right. Most of them do remain a mystery, and that no one really has one explanation at all. Nobody has anything concrete. Nothing. It's very weird. Other people think it was one person and someone who was sick in the head, but somehow had the skill to do these surgery-like cuts that were always found.
Right.
So by 1975, there were over 200 incidents of cattle mutilation reported in Colorado, which prompted a statewide investigation.
That's a lot.
Exactly. Statewide investigation. So Special Agent Kenneth Rommel did hundreds of examinations, okay? And he came back with one conclusion, and he said that the phenomena was totally natural. So he said it was caused by scavengers like birds, coyotes, other wildlife. And his report is the only actual, official report, really ever. So all the experienced ranchers disagree. So like I said earlier, there's kind of two sides to all of this.
Right.
They totally disagree. Dennis Schmidt, a rancher in Colorado, talked about how his calf had the intestines removed and that there were perfect cuts across the rib cage. There was no blood anywhere in sight. It was totally drained, okay? And he had never, ever seen anything like it. A woman named Barb Campbell, she is a forensic investigator. She actually grew up on ranches and in Washington and surrounded by this type of thing. And she started out skeptical when she heard stuff like this. She was like, this seems like something that could be natural and people are exaggerating, until she saw a report of one in real life. And then she kind of went crazy. I mean, not went crazy, but she started really, really focusing on it and studying it in depth. So the skin isn't torn, she notices. It's surgically cut. There's no blood, and there's never any sign of struggle. And the missing parts are never found. They're never found nearby or anything.
There's no teeth marks, right?
Exactly.
And and like you're saying, no pool of blood.
Right. Some scientists...
A la Dexter.
Some scientists do argue that teeth can do this type of thing and that it's more tearing.
Yeah.
Some scavengers do that, but it's still kind of debated,
it seems too neat still.
Yes. So sometimes the animal is found in like awkward, impossible positions, like the head is bent back further than the neck can handle, or the legs are splayed at odd angles and they're in different directions, like torn or broken, stuff like that. Barb believes that the animals were tranquilized first, like they were shot with a gun or a dart. And when put into laboratories, so there have been many cases of lab torts carried out on some of these animals. And sometimes other chemicals such as
So they did, like, blood analysis.
Yeah, they would do, like, blood analysis, and sometimes stuff like tranquilizers and sedatives were found, which is also very weird.
Yeah. And would definitely seem to point to, like, it's some person
like
doing
a person,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Frank the Bison.
Frank the Bison.
Frank the Bison.
Okay.
So near Lordminster,
Good
Alberta.
to meet you, Frank the Bison.
Alberta, Canada. Well, he's dead.
Oh, Canada.
Canada.
We get a lot of listeners from Canada.
We stand Canada. Too cold up there.
Thank you for being America's hat. No, sorry. I'm just joking. Thank you for Michael Myers and all the other great comedians who came from Canada.
Like Ryan Reynolds?
Like
he's from Canada.
So many. Remember we looked it up?
Isn't Seth Rogen from Canada too?
Also Seth Rogen.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Canada delivers.
But then also Justin Bieber, so, kind of goes both ways. But,
Back on to Frank. He's a victim here.
Frank the Bison. Excuse
Frank
me.
is the victim here.
I'm so sorry.
All right.
Frank.
So, Lloydminster, Alberta, Canada, March 2008. Lee Benoit, a ranch owner and eyewitness, says, he reports the same characteristics. Frank, he was a prized bison bull. He was alive and well, at the day before the incident. There was a precision cut right down the middle of his stomach. His organs were missing. Scavengers or any other animal hadn't gone near it, stayed away from it. There were no footprints, there were no tire tracks, there was no nothing. The snow surrounding him had mysteriously melted and then refrozen. This is also common. They're also found sometimes reported laying in what's kind of like a crop circle, like the grass around them is dead, or the snow around them is melted or flattened. And sometimes it's even reported that the ground stays that way for years.
Yeah.
So another case, Saskatchewan, Canada, June 1987. A rancher of 52 years, Buck Scotton, comes across a deer that was mysteriously mutilated. Its navel was perfectly cut out. There was an incision on the neck, shoulder area, about a 7-inch incision, but the area around it, the hair surrounding it was cut, and it was, like, shaved, actually. It was, like... Yeah, it was weird. It was weird, and it begs the question, like, if it's a predator, what kind of predator does that?
Right.
He actually takes it to the vet department at Canada's University of Saskatoon, and a vet there determined that the death wasn't unusual and that there was no struggle because the animal had fallen into some sort of coma before being mutilated. And this is from the Monster Quest episode. The rancher, Buck Scotton, he says, "Did you ever hear anything as stupid as that?" He couldn't believe it.
Right.
So, some of our unanswered questions here. What causes the death of a mutilated animal? So there could be natural causes, something like infectious diseases or some kind of severe accident, poisoning, birth-related accidents, electrocution even. And that can be diagnosed through, like, examination and lab analyses, right? But in most of these mutilation cases, it had been reported that the animals died suddenly. Like they were healthy one day, dead the next. And this is based on the testimony that they were being seen by the owner in good health, like the day of or the day before, shortly before being found dead. So if it was a predator, where are the teeth marks? Predators attack the back of the knee or the nose first. And these areas aren't really in particularly have any markings there that are significant. It brings up the same question: where's all the blood? Veins and arteries would be torn. This is not the case with these mutilations. It's not a messy picture. So what causes this burned vegetation? So like I said, sometimes the animals are reported to be found laying in the middle of perfectly round areas where the grass looks to have been flattened or burned. And if there's snow present, it's melted in that area, like a crop circle. What kinds of surgical equipment could be used to make these precise incisions, if equipment could be, and used at all? Why do domestic animals in the vicinity behave so strangely? Why do other members of the herd, as well as scavengers, keep their distance? And why do they do that if they so-called died of natural causes? So remember that in some cases...
Doesn't seem so natural, these causes. I don't know, right?
That's the question.
That's my question.
I
have a lot of questions about this.
The mystery of the mystery. We have reached the mystery.
And we're in the mystery.
Remember that in some cases
beep. You are entering the mystery zone.
That was awful.
Thank you.
Thanks, I hated it. Loved it, hated it. Loved it.
Okay, go on.
So remember that in some cases, these are wild animals that are in a herd, okay? They're in a group. So it's difficult for some random person to just walk up to one of them and kill them without some kind of alarm going off. Someone seeing something, the cattle panicking or running away. And they even tested this both during the daytime and at night, and they would always run away. They would always get spooked, and you couldn't catch one, much less multiple.
Yeah.
So the thing about these theories is that there are some conventional explanations. So the U.S. government says that they have all kinds of things. So there was an investigation in May of 1979. The FBI dubbed it Operation Animal Mutilation. So yeah, I know, right?
It's a very literal title for an operation. They're usually like Operation Mongoose.
Yeah.
Operation, Paperclip.
Yeah.
It's not usually like Operation exactly the thing that we're doing.
And it was headed by Kenneth Rommel, the same
I see.
investigator that I mentioned before.
I've heard his name.
In the past few minutes or so,
yes,
haven't you?
I recall that.
So it was to determine, it had 5 key elements. So determine how reliable the info was that they were gathering. They wanted to determine the cause of as many mutilations as possible, especially those reported in New Mexico, because that is where a lot of the funding came from, and a lot of where the FBI looked at first, besides Colorado. So they wanted to determine if livestock mutilations, as described, constitute a major law enforcement problem. Right. Like, if it is someone or some kind of cult, is there something going on in the community? So if that's so, they need to determine the scope of the problem and then offer recommendations on how to deal with it. But if it's shown that the mutilation phenomena is not a law enforcement problem, they have to recommend that no further law enforcement investigations be funded. So then that was their kind of of take on it. Natural causes. So there are unconventional explanations, but there's also explained as things like blowflies. That's a possible explanation. Possible scavengers that make the livestock carcasses look like they've been mutilated. Mm-hmm. And the absence of blood can be explained as blood pooling in the lowest points in the body where it will break down into its basic organic components.
Okay.
So it'll just break down.
Might just be some kind of like kind of understandings of what's going on naturally.
Right. But yeah, that's basically it. I don't know.
But it also could be aliens, right?
Exactly. It could also be aliens. And sometimes radiation is reported too.
Really?
Like spikes in radiation and like I said, the area being permanently like...
Right.
You can't grow anything there. The soil
and the circles, just the whole nature of it seems to point toward like extraterrestrials, right?
It's something else, man. It's something else.
It certainly is. Yeah, so good shit. Good shit. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Yay!
Real good shit.
It's time for weird shit in the news.
Weird shit in the news.
Weird shit in the news.
Weird.
That lasted a while.
That was weird. Okay, all
right, what do you got?
I got something, and it is from Business Insider, and the story is kind of in the headline here. So,
aren't they always?
Typically. So Becky Peterson, story by Becky Peterson from January 7th, and the headline is, "That's not true. Amazon's Alexa just hilariously interrupted a Qualcomm representative in the middle of a demo at CES." So CES, if you're not familiar, is the Consumer Electronics Show, of course. And there was an Amazon Alexa on stage, which had not been put on mute, during this presentation that a Qualcomm rep was doing about something, very technical with Qualcomm chips and cars. And apparently when he began his presentation, Alexa felt it was her duty to interrupt and point out a perhaps mendacious statement which she heard by saying, quote, "No, that's not true," close quote.
That's not true.
That's not true. Everyone had a very good laugh, and the Qualcomm rep went on with his presentation, which I assume was generally truthful. I'm really sure.
I'm telling you, dude, Alexa's going to take over the world.
So, it's a glitch, obviously, but, it's kind of funny. But, I was telling you, I want to get to the point where it's not like, I'm not going to do it because the thing's going to go off, but like, no, tell me the meaning of this word, or like, what's the weather, all that kind of shit. When are we going to get to like, computer, where you could just talk to it, hey, look up this thing for me, or like find out about this, or tell me about whatever,
Hey, Cortana. She's like, can I be of assistance?
Maybe. So yeah, that's probably an episode, right?
That's an episode. Good. That's a wrap.
Oh yeah, we never actually came up with a tagline for the...
I don't think we need one.
I don't think we'll ever have one.
Follow us on Instagram.
Go on our Insta, please.
Follow us on Instagram, Mystery Murdery Thingy. Follow us on Twitter. Murdery Thingy.
At Murdery Thingy,
I think.
Sure. At Mystery Murdery?
I think it's Murdery Thingy.
Might be, yeah, at Murdery Thingy.
Things I should know, but I don't.
Yeah. I also have a Twitter, but I don't really use it.
Please follow us on Twitter.
And go on our Patreon, become a friend of the pod.
Become a friend of the pod. Get some weird news extras in there.
A little bit. We're thinking about other stuff that we could do for extra stuff. So we'll look out for more things coming in the second year of the pod.
For sure.
In terms of extras. At Murdery Thingy. That's our Twitter.
That's our Twitter.
That's where we do the tweets.
Hit us up on Facebook.
The Twitter. Hit us up on the Facebook.
On the medias.
On all
social medias.
The bullshits,
all right,
as Henry would say.
It's time to eat, yo. I'm hungry.
I'm also hungry. Okay, bye.
Bye.